Okay, welcome back. In the last posted video, I was talking about saving your settings from the registry, your auto-tune settings. I've got another video where well, it's a lot of editing because there's multiple cameras and whatnot, where I actually hooked up a device to the O2 sensor. Went for a ride with that, was trying to get rid of the revs that it was doing on idle. It was sort of revving to about 1500, 1600 or whatever for quite some time before it settled down. I don't know how well that's gone, and I don't know how well it's worked. Also, while I was doing that, I had a write to the ECU file, so I had to go through ECU recovery process, so there's potentially something really good in that when I eventually get it edited. But I'm going to do this video out of order because I think it needs to be covered. Okay, now the thing here is I've been playing with the ignition maps. Now I've got a stock 22 part number for the MT09 SP, and this is stock as of today, so I've just gone and opened up a new one. Now I want to go through the ignition maps, and one of the settings, so if we go ignition maps, and there's a reason I'm sort of jumping around. So here we've got neutral, clutch, and we've got gears, and you can see that there's actually a variation on them. So if I go, that's your neutral one, and come on, and there's our gears 1 to 6. So it's pretty rough. Both of them are pretty rough. And let's see, now those aren't, the graph's really awkward because it just graphs from one extreme to the other. So on this one here, which is actual gears, so this is when you're riding, it's 58 to 4.8. If we have a look at the neutral one, the maximum's 30. Well, yeah, the maximum's 40s. So goes up here, goes down towards the top. So if we, which beats which? Yeah, it does start to dip off here. So not that you can actually get in there, and that is actually a part of it. This area here, you can't, let's see, throttle opening, no, this area here you can't hit up until about here. These are the only ones that actually have effect, because you can't hit 100% throttle without remapping your ETV, something along those lines. Now watch what happens. So at the moment nothing's highlighted, there's no trim values. Okay, so we close this down, we come to bin file configuration. This gives us the ability to unify some of the maps. So one of them is unify the ignition group maps. And we come back to ignition maps. We don't have the option to choose one or the other. We're in mode 1. Okay. And we can see the maximum is 58 and this. Alright. So let's OK that. Let's come back to bin file configuration. Let's ununify it. If we go back, look, we're on neutral clutch. But look at what we've been writing. Look at what I've been writing to the ECU for this map without realizing it. Yeah, do not unify your ignition maps. Just don't do it. Yeah, the other unify one is for, let's see, I believe it's cylinders. Unify cylinders. That's okay, because there's not much difference between a cylinder and one cylinder and the next. You know, that's kind of okay. With the ignition, yeah, there's a lot of difference. And it wasn't, so I have been playing with the ignition maps, and one of the things I realized is, yes, there's just gears 1 to 6. Well, you know, how does it handle gear 6 differently to gear 1? There's completely different loads and completely different sort of advances needed and whatnot. And it was just by looking at that when I realized the ignition trim, and that is per gear. Ignore the, yeah. So that's per gear 1 to 5. Notice 6 isn't on there. So that makes me think that what you're dealing with in the ignition map is gear 6, and in here you put your adjustments in for gear 1 to 5. So this will adjust the gear 6 map to make it suitable for gear 2. At least that's my theory. Although interestingly, yeah, that there's no separation by mode here. Yeah, I can appreciate how it sort of ended up like this. It was probably the easiest way for them to fit it in. But ultimately, that is what I believe is working. But is to get back to the point of this video, do not unify your ignition groups. So do not do that. Just leave it empty. Don't check it. If you ever check it while you're mucking around, make sure you come back in here and you come to this your value trim or whatever, and you set it back to 0. Oops, got to select everything. Set 0, set it back to 0. Yeah, that's what you do. So, okay, that was just a stock file. I'm not going to save it. No, I don't want to save it. So coming back to what I've been doing, so the ignition maps and mode 1 neutral I haven't touched. This one here I have done some changes. So these ones here are for to get the popping sound of decel. I've kind of played with them a bit more. I have been quite cautious in the value changes that I've made, so I've only sort of done a bit of advance here and a bit of retardation here, and mostly that is just for, and you'll kind of see it, just to try and smooth some of it out. So yeah, it was a bit sort of harsher here, and you know, there were these dips, the dips that were in here I thought were kind of unnecessary, and to me visually it aligned with the dips in the fuel maps in some areas, and I was like, okay, I'll make some small changes, and yeah, I'm about to go and apply that to the bike and just sort of see what it does. Thought, yeah, it's time to have a play. I did do some research on how to sort of change it. Yes, without a dyno you really don't know if it's improving it or not, but a small change here or there's not really going to make that much of a difference. So I just want to see, but you know, the big win was that I discovered you do not choose that setting, or you will end up putting your engine load ignition maps into your neutral idle settings. So I'm glad I found that, and yeah, just a warning for people. You know, if you always check it every now and again, make sure those settings aren't set, or if you're playing around. But yeah, if you never set it, it's not really an issue. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, catch you on the next one.